Hello, so I'm back again, Sumit, with the second part of this video lesson called speech writing. So once the beginning been done, it opens up all the more a challenge for the speaker to gather more of the attention of the audience. It is not easy. It's not easy. You have to give concrete evidences, concrete statistics and observations of yours, and after that it's not all. You have to find out along with the audience. You've got to read their minds and bring them into agreement as well. You must have done a pretty much bit of research also to find out the causes as to why all these things that you just stated in the previous video lesson, all these happened. Why? There must be at least about 2 or 3 causes, and after you have stated the causes, we'll move on to the suggestions also. Hello. Like I said, that I would be coming with the second part of the speech writing as well. We just dealt with the beginning of the speech writing in the last video, that is a part 1 on this portion of writing, that is speech writing. Now we are going to deal with the second part, the causes, as to what made you come up here on the stage and that you feel could be the reasons behind the incidents that you just narrated. Right. So then you will have to root for the causes of the subject. But hey, take a pause. Do not jump directly into the causes. Find something which you can step on, some sort of transition markers. Some transition, because you can just simply go on to the causes. You can add, well, that was something to be worried about. In the second paragraph, that is, well, that was something to be worried about. Well, that sets us into finding the causes behind these incidents. Well, students, if you remember, we talked about the rising incidents of indiscipline among students. We talked about price rise. We talked about rising insensitivity among the public when you saw an accident between a truck and a motorcycle and nobody came up to help the victim, the grievously injured one. Nobody took him to the hospital. And you remember you had said the strangest part is the hospital was just half a kilometer away. And these are the observations. The price rise, the 20 rupee vegetable shooting up to 80 rupee per kg, the dal, that statistically speaking you had given very concrete evidences. Talking about what statistics, I am just reminded of a magician of statistics, magician or wizard of statistics. He would give concrete historical evidences as well, and anything that would immediately bring his home point with conviction. Shashi Tharoor. Yes, let's listen to it.
Let me take World War I as a very concrete example, since the first speaker, Mr. Lee, suggested these things couldn't be quantified. Well, let me quantify World War I for you. Again, I'm sorry, from an Indian perspective, others have spoken of other countries. 1/6 of all the British forces that fought in the war were Indian. 54,000 Indians actually lost their lives in that war. 65,000 were wounded. Another 4,000 remained missing or in prison. Indian taxpayers had to cough up £100 million in that time's money. India supplied 70 million rounds of ammunition, 600,000 rifles and machine guns, 42 million garments were stitched and sent out of India, and 1.3 million Indian personnel served in this war. I know all this because,
but what about the causes? How did this state of things came up to be? What were the causes? So we need to write about the causes. You can write now to begin with the causes, right? So this is a discourse marker, like I said, and you'll have to seek the permission of the judges or the dignitaries standing up there, the authorities. So you have to take their permission. Sir, do I have your permission to build on the topic concerned? Can we move on to the causes behind such an unruly behavior of the students? Now the build up towards the causes needs, like I said, I'll give an example. Is this the environment? How ironic it is that we as learners are forgetting the basic lesson of discipline. As a student, it should hang our head in shame. As a teacher, we have to look into where it went wrong. A school is never a place of violence. It never was. As a parent, something in our guidance went wrong. It raises a question mark on the whole warp and woof of our system, our society. Well, students, did you see I repeated this, something in our guidance? This is a repetition I used. It raises a question mark. It raises a question mark. This is actually a very important step towards the causes. Now you directly cannot jump into the causes. You have to build certain steps. So these are the steps, because you are making them feel ashamed of how the things have gone, and because you are ashamed, you must look into the causes, right? So let's see how next comes up. Now you're going to focus and link your steps. Now, talking of the causes, you can start your sentence this way. Talking of the causes, they are essentially three. Now students, just as soon as you said essentially three, the audience would be very assured that you would not drag your speech for hours, because that's the worst thing that an audience can expect. You have to structure them. I'll tell you a little later.
Let me share with you three of the many stars that I follow and ask a little question. Sevan Rigzin studied journalism and became the education minister of the Ladakh Hill Council, Leh, at the age of 27. Stanzin is a filmmaker today and has been winning awards at film festivals across India, France, and Canada. Tinless is a celebrated entrepreneur, featured in many national and international journals, and one of them has declared her the person of the year. Can you guess what could be common among these stars? No, they were not top scorers from an elite school. In fact, they were failures that failed miserably and repeatedly at school. Yet, they achieved these feats. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, the absurdity that we see is some of our colleges demand 100% marks to get an admission. Nothing less would do. Makes one wonder, why are students with 95% marks made to feel like failures?
They are essentially three. Another way, this device is called actually focusing and linking. Another way of focusing and linking is as regards the causes behind such deviant behavior. Yet another way is, as far as the causes are concerned, I can clearly see three dominant reasons. Now, did you see how you have structured your speech? Now you are priming the audience up that you are going to speak three causes. So be alert, these three, and I'm not going to go on and on and on till the end of midnight. No, just three causes, and let's see what they are. That way you are structuring, and you got to link your previous thought with the next one. Structure them: first this cause, second, third, and finally, or firstly, secondly, and finally. Right? There's another way of structuring. You could state your first cause as, in the first place, so and so. In the second place, so and so. In the third place, so and so. I will naturally a little later come up with the example also. Yeah, here is how you say. See, the violence among students takes place just for the three reasons. First, children often mistake power for respect. In trying to command the respect of their peers, they often resort to methods of abuse and violence. And guess what? End up becoming victims of violence themselves. Then, after this first elucidation, this first cause that you have stated, tell how you arrived at this conclusion. It would not be taken seriously if you don't. So tell how you arrived. Like, children often mistake power for respect. They actually want respect from their juniors, but they don't know how to get respect. So they exercise power upon them. They command their juniors. Hey, why are you standing here? Go to the class immediately. No, that is exercise of your power. Or I will get you punished by the principal. I'll tell the principal. Or you would be standing here in the sun. Well, you are the head boy, but you don't need to exercise power over them. My point was, you have to tell how you reached at this conclusion that you just stated in the first cause. Now you must be thinking how you can arrive at this conclusion. Let's take a look. See here. It has been observed that the house captains need a lot of counseling from their housemasters and their associates. There have been complaints from students of junior classes that they choose, that is the head boys or the that the house captains choose only some favored students for CCA competitions. New ones are not given any chance to prove their merit. Right? You can repeat this thing, different sections of the audience. Like, dear CCA student secretaries from all the houses, you cannot exercise your power in a wrong way. This creates dissent among the students. Right? After that, you can use alliteration and other figurative devices also, like better and budding talents, and so and so. So, some of you, for proper lack of proper guidance from the teachers, are going the way of convenience. You are finding the convenient way of choosing the students from juniors who have performed the previous times as well this time again. So you don't have to exert much upon new ones aspiring to take part in CCA. So don't neglect better and budding talents. You see, better and budding talents. That is a literary or a figurative device. And guess what it is? It is alliteration.
Strong men who are truly role models, don't need to put down women to make themselves feel powerful. People who are truly strong lift others up. People who are truly powerful bring others together. And that is what we need in our next president. We need someone who is a uniting force in this country. We need someone who will heal the wounds that divide us. Someone who truly cares about us and our children. Someone with strength and compassion to lead this country forward. And let me tell you, I'm here today because I believe with all of my heart that Hillary Clinton will be that president.
So, you could use alliteration and other devices as well. And more good you are at using the literary devices like repetition, antithesis, just as I talked in the first part of the video. Look for it if you want to get a better hang of it. So, more good you are, more effective you will be a public speaker. Thereafter, a very important thing, you got to make short sentences. Like, this breeds resentment among fellow students. This breeds resentment among fellow students. What brings resentment? Your partial attitude or your neglect of the budding and better talents. I say all this because I have witnessed some cases of brawls and angry outbursts by some children on this issue. some complaints have come to us this way.
Facilitator in moving it happen. This is another good example. That's a larger example. Some of you may know it. The Akshay Patra example of Midday Meal. How did I get to know of it? I didn't know about that organization. I'm a fairly ignorant man. That's why they made me education secretary. So when I walked into a school, I had the midday meal there. And fortunately or unfortunately, my wife was with me. So when I ate that food, I couldn't hold myself. I asked my wife, "Tum aisa kyun nahi banati ho?" Excellent food. So then I went to the state headquarters and called the organizers and asked them, "Aap ye to bada acha khana khila rahe hain, kahan kar rahe hain aap?" Bole, "Sir, hum 2 zilon mein kar rahe hain." Again, I use that phrase, why should good activity be limited to just 2 districts? So you know what is the response was? Sir, किसी ने कहा नहीं हमसे. देखिए, कई बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं. We are unable to reach out to them. They'll be too happy to contribute. And I'll tell you what is the outcome of what we are trying to do. So then he said, then I asked him कि कैसे करें? बोले, my chairman sits in Bangalore. You'll have to talk to him. Within a week, I flew to Bangalore. I met the chairman of Akshay Patra. He was aghast. He said, Secretary Government of India coming and meeting me. We've been chasing state governments to give us land, give us place, and you're coming to meet me. I said, मुझे काम है आपसे, मैं आपके पास आया हूँ. अब मुझे ये बताइए आप, how can you scale the operations? So I said, you give me a draft stating this is what I want for me to scale operations. He gave it to me within 24 hours. And the consequence is, against 3 million children that they were feeding, today they would be feeding, against 1.5 million children they were feeding, today they would be feeding 3 million children within a year. They doubled their capacity. So I'm giving you this example just to illustrate that it can happen. It's a question of...
Tell clearly what you want. Students, you are empowered to give maximum participation. Actually, you are giving these instructions to the students of Students' Council, the position holders. And everybody must listen to it. So, you are saying, आप कह रहे हो, students, you are empowered to give maximum participation to maximum children. And take feedback every time. Am I making myself clear? Do you follow me? These lines in inverted commas are meant to be in the speech. So remember, you can write these. You can say that. Am I making myself clear? Do you follow me? Or do you follow me? Yes, I suppose you follow me. You do. And now the second reason. You remember we were quoting 3 reasons. We had structured it, linking and focusing, and we had structured. So first reason already stated, that some of the student council members are mistaking power for respect. Now secondly, children who have been victims of teasing or ridicule may resort to violence. Now another set of children, another set of students who are violating the codes of conduct are those who are victims themselves. So they are not powerful people, they are actually victims. So as a measure of revenge, or because they are feeling victims of ridicule, they have been made fun of, so they are resorting to violence. Well, you can write this in a simple short sentence. Secondly, and so and so. Now use logical progression of ideas, because after you've said this first line, you can use this makes them feel, it gives them power and hides the negativity they faced, right? When they resort to violence, when they beat up other classmates, they feel they are powerful, so they are taking revenge for their own victimhood. And after all that you have said, students, आपने जब ये सब कह दिया, after all that you have said, like the first and second reason, you have to take their agreement also. Don't forget to take their agreements. After all, who wants to be ignored, sidelined or ridiculed? Now this is in continuation with what you have said in the previous slide. Look at the previous slide. See, I'll speak up the whole second reason back again for you. Secondly, children who have been victims of teasing or ridicule may resort to violence. Why? Well, this makes them feel that it gives them power and it hides the negativity that they have faced. After all, who wants to be ignored, sidelined, or ridiculed? Right? So, because you are justifying their stance of being violent. After all, nobody wants to be ignored or sidelined. Nobody wants to be ridiculed. Nobody wants to be made fun of. So, but this is not the way to express your anger. Who have habit of resorting to beating other students. Now you have empathized with them because they themselves have been victims of violence. They may have been beaten by the elders and they are taking it out on the younger ones or their own classmates. So now after empathizing with them, yes, after all, who wants to be ignored or sidelined or even ridiculed because you have not been given new chance or chance for the CC competitions. After all, you don't want to be ignored, but this is no option. Resorting to violence and beating others is not at all an option. So after having said all this, you can throw questions at them, read their mind and speak it out. Would you ever like that? I'm sure you wouldn't. Nobody would like to be ignored, right? And after that, you would advise them. But before that, I would go to the third reason as well. And 2 or 3 reasons are enough, like I said. Well, coming to the third reason. Thirdly, witnessing abusive or violent behavior at home. At home, especially between parents or guardians, can also make children turn violent and in deviant behavior. Well, the counselor may have found out that these kind of children who are again victims of domestic violence, perhaps their parents are at loggerheads or at fight with each other, or the parents have been not respecting their children. So these kind of children indulge in errant behavior or in violent behavior. So after diagnosing the reasons, you have to say the effects of it. Like you have to write the obvious effects of the same, which are actually the same as the observations, because you remember the first paragraph you wrote some observations or the incidents. What are they? They are nothing but the effects of such causes. Still you can write. First paragraph, the beginning, any of the beginnings which I talked about. Second paragraph, the causes. And this second paragraph can have sub paragraphs, 3 subordinate paragraphs quoting every reason. 3 reasons could make 3 paragraphs. So as a result, misbehavior or bunking of classes, back answering the teachers, and peer rivalry or the violence amongst students is a common norm. This happens. As a result, misbehavior with each other or with the teachers, bunking of the classes or back answering the teachers, rudely talking to the teachers, peer rivalry that sometimes results in violence also among students. Now this is the effect. And finally, in the 6th paragraph, like I said, you have to come with the suggestions.
But the rest of all, the civil society should also do their part. What we have discovered, both at PS Descalzos and Educated Child, is that many times only one single barrier to entry, such as no access to transportation or basic needs like a functioning bathroom, can prevent a kid from attending school or even put them at risk of dropping out. Sometimes all it takes to change a child's life is the security of a hot meal in school or the ease of being able to hop on a bus that will leave you safely at your classroom's door. It's as simple as that. And these are simple interventions and they don't cost a lot. The biggest effort really is in mapping the communities, in going door to door, searching for the out-of-school children, talking to the parents, talking to their families, giving a name and putting a story behind these children is the first step to start rewriting their story. Over the next 3 years, we pledged to get 54,000 kids who are out of school or at risk of dropout into the education.
Again, you can structure them first, second, and finally. So first, second, and last. Firstly, secondly, lastly. First, the teachers must watch if some students are taking it out on stray animals. Are they beating animals without any reason? Right? That is the first suggestion. It depends on how you are taking it up to be. So you have to have an empathetic talk with the truant student. Now you are making a suggestion. After all, why do we have our own expert counselor in the school? Right? That's the question. That's the question actually. You are putting it up, fielding the question, throwing this question rather to the students. After all, why do we have our own expert counselor in the school? You can come and have a talk with your counselor. Right? That could be the first suggestion. The second one, watch if some students are getting into fights for no reason, or even back answering the teachers in their own fits of fancy and whims. Right? That could be the second suggestion. Come, let's watch as to who are getting into fight for no reason. Are they back answering the teachers? If yes, then there could be a potential possibility of a violent tendency in that student. After that, you can give keywords also. Furthermore, you should look up at root cause. What motivated you to do violence? Like you're talking to that student specific. Ki beta, you are having that tendency to hit people. Now look into the reason. Is there any problem at your home, or are your teachers not attending you well, or are you not getting friendly support from your classmates, or are your elders misbehaving with you? And that all has to be very empathetical when you are speaking on the stage. So empathy is the key word. Talk with empathy. And you could use, like I said, these are discourse markers. I have another set of spoken English videos where I have and I will be talking about these discourse markers written violet color here. See? Furthermore, you should look up the root cause. What motivated you to do violence? Right? And then you could even use, in addition, आप use कर सकते हैं ये speech में कि in addition, fix a meeting with the counselor. Like furthermore, in addition. These are the discourse markers, keywords. Right? All on the top of it, to top it all, help the child confide in you. Of his own willing, not by force. अपने आप आके बच्चा आप में confide करे, आपको बताए. To top it all, help the child confide in you of his own willing and not by force. Well, no guesses. This is an advice to the counselor, to the teacher, and to the parents as well. Right. Last but not least, that is also a discourse marker. I told you this these violet phrases are the discourse markers. You can end this way. To top it all, last but not least, just as violence by you students is never a solution and never an option to your woes, in much the same way, in just the same way, even punishment by no means is any solution to any breach of discipline. Punishment is always a very helpless way, always a last resort to cure the problem. One has to diagnose it and cure it by just looking into and going with constructive ways of. In addition, you can suggest to the housemasters and to the student council members, the house captains, that they must not allow themselves to be the victims of grudge and anger of other students. So be a little bit more judicious, have a little foresight, give chance to everybody to participate in the CCA competitions with regard to the topic that we have just raised. And the same suggestion holds true for the students as well, the juniors as well as the seniors, not to allow themselves And please don't allow yourselves to be a victim of grudge, to be a victim of your own anger, right? And now these suggestions can have a bit of warning as well. You can warn them as well. Please don't give me any chance to come back to speak on this very matter again on the stage, and that's a request. So take it as a warning as well, and be a little aware not to repeat such unethical and nefarious and unruly activities in the school again, right? So suggestions and a little bit of warning as well, and your speech would be complete. First, evidences of your beliefs that the things have gone wrong, statistical and concrete evidences, the observations of yours. Then comes the causes, diagnose them as to why they could have happened, come with some suggestions, and finally, of course, you have to end on a very, very positive note. Yes, we will see. Solutions. Summing up, finally, you could even write to conclude, indiscipline cannot be tolerated, and we will go to any length to curb, C-U-R-B actually, curb violence among students. To sum up, even this is a discourse marker. To sum up, the alarming rise in student unrest is a cause of worry, and we will involve parents, teachers at any cost, and the students also, to arrive at a solution to it.
Over the next 3 years, we pledge to get 54,000 kids who are out of school or at risk of dropout into the educational system. Ultimately, more than 295,000 people will benefit from this project, including children, teachers, families, and community members. New schools and classrooms will be built. School kits and uniforms will be distributed. Children will be enrolled in school, feeding and transportation programs. Teachers will be trained in strategies and in how to identify those students who are at risk so they can receive psychosocial support. And we are extremely confident that this partnership is only the beginning and will be the model to replicate throughout my country until not a single child is out of school. This is our responsibility.
This is our responsibility. Well, this feeling of a common cause, something that we all are to be responsible for, to mend the wrong state of affairs, is the motivational ending that we should try to bring up. A good speaker always ends on a very positive note and gives a certain goal. I have got a little sort of this clip for you to see as to how end the speech with a certain goal, or it could be a quote even, which inspires and motivates the audience and takes whole of your speech, whole of your 3 to 4 minute one in a very positive light.
So first, let's take on big, meaningful projects. Our generation is going to have to deal with tens of millions of jobs replaced by automation like self-driving cars and trucks. But we have the potential to do so much more than that. Every generation has its defining works. More than 300,000 people worked to put that man on the moon, including that janitor. Millions of volunteers immunized children around the world against polio, and millions of more people built the Hoover Dam and other great projects. And now it's our generation's turn to do great things. Now I know, maybe you're thinking, I don't know how to build a dam. I don't know how to get 1 million people involved in anything. Well, let me tell you a secret. No one does when they begin. Ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started. If I had to know everything about connecting people before I got started, I never would have built Facebook. Movies and pop culture just get this all wrong. The idea of a single eureka moment is a dangerous lie.
Finally, on a positive hope, you could always end on a positive note. Well, that's another piece of advice from me, dear students. Like this example, You have to be very hopeful and very positive at the end. And I must say, you listened to me with maturity. I appreciate it. I hope we will go together, we'll create together a learning atmosphere in the school. I'll end my speech with the words of Joseph Conrad: violence is not a catalyst but a diversion. Now, this is a quote to end with. And finally, dear students, do not ever forget to thank the audience like I am doing. Thanks. Presented by me, Sumit. Thank you, happy learning, and I wish a very good speech writing by you. I really want you to become very good speech writers, and if possible, go to the stage whenever you get a chance. Speak nice. Thank you.